Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, good everything. So, in this particular session, I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts about an experience that I had that gave me this message because pretty much everything I do is share my thoughts based on something that I've learned or something that I've gone through. But a few years back, I started getting like these headaches. And when I would first wake up in the morning, when I would try to read something, it seemed like everything was just super blurry. And for some reason, I wasn't really thinking about, the fact that I may need glasses. I was just thinking that my eyes just needed to adjust when I first woke up. But finally, because I kept getting headaches and it just seemed like the world became more and more blurry, I went to the doctor and I ended up getting an eye exam, and I ended up with my glasses. My glasses, not these, but a pair of glasses because the other ones broke. Well, I broke them. But it's so funny because when I first put the glasses on, I joked with my friends and I said it seemed like the world stood up because I didn't even realize that my eyesight had changed to the point that everything was slanted and blurry until I put my glasses on, and then I could see things really for what they always were. And it made me think about a story in the Bible. And I was thinking about that this morning. It made me think about a story in the Bible found in Mark 8. And I'm going to read this to you all. And this is actually one of my favorite chapters and something that I share often because it really has helped. I feel like it has helped my mind and my thoughts, and it's also helped my heart. And in Mark 8, starting with verse 22, it's about the story about the blind man. And it says, then he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him. They're talking about Yeshua. They're talking about Jesus. And they begged Yeshua to touch him. So he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, he put his hands on him. He asked him if he saw anything. And he looked up and said, I see men like trees walking. Then he put his hands on his eyes again and made him look up. And he was restored and saw everyone clearly. Then he sent him away to his house, saying, neither go into the town nor tell anyone in the town. And it's so interesting because every time I read that, it is a reminder to me how important it is for me to be able to see things properly. And this is why I'm going to entitle this particular message, Praying for New Eyes, because that's exactly what I had to do. I had to ask the Lord to help me to be able to see my situation, to see things, to see life, to see people the way that He saw them. Because if we're honest, when you look at the blind man in the Bible, when the first time that Jesus touched his eyes, he did not see properly. He said, I see men like trees walking. Of course, we know, and I'm sure he knew that didn't even make sense. But Jesus didn't say that's good enough. At least you see better. At least you see something. Because when they brought you to me, you couldn't see anything. So at least you see something. He didn't say that, nor did he leave him that way. He touched him again because he needed him to be able to see properly. So it says he put his hands on his eyes again, and then he made him look up. And then the man was restored and saw everyone clearly. This is likely the one thing that has completely changed my life, and it's also the one thing that I have to continuously every day pray and ask the Lord to help me to be able to see the way you would have me to see. Because in general, we respond to things based on how we see them. Because it's just kind of how we're wired. So if someone does something to you and you think that they're doing it from an impure or hostile place, you're going to respond based on that. But if you allow the Lord to put his eyes in your head and you can see that, hey, at this moment, they actually aren't trying to hurt you. And if we're honest, some of the people that ended up hurting you, it's not that they really didn't set out to hurt you. It's just that that's what they carried. They walked in with pain. They carried pain. And when they had access to you and you had access to them, the only thing they could give you was what they carried. And this also is something that has helped me to forgive and to not live in a place of offense. I had a situation a couple of weeks back. I actually had two situations, but one of them, it was this young lady in the gym, and I was actually walking out of the women's locker room, and she was walking in, and we almost bumped into each other. And normally, in my mind, I guess because I'm old, I don't see that that's anything to get worked up about. If we almost bump into each other, excuse me, let it go. It is what it is. It's not like I don't see an intent behind that, because clearly neither one of us were really paying attention. And if I'm honest, it wasn't that I almost bumped into her, because I actually tried to move out of her way. She was on her phone and she almost bumped into me. So I moved out of the way. And she put her little hand up, y'all, and she said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like, I saw her fingers, like, go by my face. And the part of my mind that remained present said, "No, ma'am, we are not doing that. We're not doing that." And so she just looked at me, and I think I probably threw her off a little bit because I was so calm. And I think I accessed my school teacher, because sometimes, like, you have to have a whole lot of self-control when you're dealing with kids, period, but especially other people's kids, especially those kids that some people not raising, and the ones that people think that they can come to your class and run your class because they run their house, those kids. Not y'all kids, but those kids. So you got to be able to just stand your ground and have a whole lot of self-control. So I think she accessed my school teacher, because I said, "No, ma'am, we're not doing that." And thank God the Holy Spirit kept me calm, because I didn't really get mad till I left. By the end, the coast was clear, y'all. But, like, when I was driving home, I thought about it, and I was like, she put her hand in my face. So I'm thinking about that, but on the other hand, I'm reminding myself not to get offended, because for me and for you all, anytime we operate in offense, really nothing good can come from it. So I thought about that. And the interesting thing was, a couple of days later, I was back at the gym, and I was in class with and I was talking to one of the young ladies, and we were kind of just talking about the dynamics, how the gym had changed, and a lot of people were coming in there like they had like chips on their shoulders. And she said, yeah, this girl called her a bad name, and she kind of told me what happened, and she described her, and it was the same one that had waved her hand up in my face, and I was like, so my first thought was, okay, well, cool, so she just crazy. She's just crazy, because I can't take it personally, because apparently she walking around here after everybody. So I was done with it then. Well, like 95% done with it, because I was still talking to that 5% of me that pretty much have the mindset of anybody can get it. So I told myself, to just no matter what happens, unless she touch you, just let it go, because apparently she has some issues that have nothing to do with you. And so I saw her after I had the conversation with no, it wasn't, because that was on a Thursday when I was talking to the young lady. So that following Sunday, I saw her, and she was like avoiding me. She she was avoiding me because she started walking towards the machine that I was on, and she like turned her head and went the other way. And I said, okay, well, that's probably like the best thing that needs to happen right now. And then the next day I saw her again, and she just wouldn't look at me, but apparently she had left something next on the floor next to the machine that I was on. So she started walking towards me, and I was thinking to myself, no, not today, devil, not today. But she just kind of pointed to let me know that she was about to reach for something. And I looked down and saw that she had left her stuff there. And it's the craziest thing because the more I watched her, and I had been praying and asking the Lord to help me see this child, because to me she was a child. She was an adult, but to me she was a child because she exhibited such childlike behavior, and she was younger than me. And I said, well, help me to see her right, because I don't want to respond to her, and I don't want any problems. I feel like a lot of people just walk around looking for trouble. I'm not one of them. I don't have time. I need my energy. I need my strength. You actually need your energy and your strength too, and don't realize how the enemy just setting you up to keep playing you and using you and wearing you down. And then when life really hits you, you don't have the strength to fight. But that's not what this is about. And so I just started praying for her and started praying for me. I was really praying that we didn't have any negative interactions. But then as time passed, I would just see her, and I started watching her. And I said, she's like a scared little girl. Because, especially I started thinking about when you're injured as a child and you feel helpless, like you can't defend yourself. And then you get older, and that little girl in you is still saying, or even that little boy in you is still saying, I'm not taking another hit. I'm not a child anymore. You're not going to do that to me. You're not going to run over me. You're not going to mistreat me anymore. This time I'm going to fight you back. And I felt like it was like a little kid in her that was swinging on all perceived threats. And I say perceived threats because a lot of times the enemy will put you in a place, a mindset, and he'll use those injuries in our hearts to put us in a mindset that everything's a threat. And we are responding to not exactly what is happening or even what happened. Sometimes we are responding to the threat that what already happened to us in the past could possibly happen to us again. And he's just swinging us around like puppets. And so that's why I say I had to ask the Lord to help me to see this moment properly. Because if I start seeing it from past experiences, I'm going to respond to it wrongly. If I start seeing it from past situations or things that I've gone through, or if I had seen her as someone who had done something or said something to me before, I would not have gotten her. I would have gotten the other person and her at the same time. Because sometimes we end up fighting people and accusing people of things that they never even did to us. The only thing they did was show up and they made a wrong move, or they said something or did something that reminded us of something that we've already been through. And this is why I say, just in general, it's so important that we live in a place of forgiveness. It's so important that we ask the Lord at all times to help me to be able to see this properly, because you can be a quote unquote attacked by somebody through their words or their deeds, and it's not even really that they're attacking you. It's that they feel the need to defend themselves, and you just so happen to be there, and they feel like something in them is telling them that they need to defend themselves against you. So my message really for you all is something that I say every day. I ask the Lord to help me to be able to see this thing right. That's really the only way I can keep going back to work every day. Help me to see this moment properly. That's really what helps me to be able to forgive people. Help me to be able to see this moment, these people, this situation, their actions properly. Help me to be able to see it the way that you see it so that I can hold the lesson but leave the pain. So that when the enemy comes in and reminds me of what happened to me, that he does not ultimately use it against me. He won't be able to use it against me, because I can look at it and I can say, it happened. And this is something I wrote down early when I was thinking about this message. It happened, because we got to learn how to check the devil. Yes, everything that you are telling me about my past, a lot of what you said I actually did. And a lot of the stuff that you're throwing up in my face, it really did happen to me. But in spite of it all, I'm not who you say that I am. And my life will not end the way that you say it will end. And so with having proper perspective and allowing the Lord to show us what we're supposed to see at that moment. Jesus knew that man was not supposed to see men as trees walking. So he touched his eyes so that he could see properly, because what he could not allow him to leave him with the wrong perspective. But because he says, if you came to me blind, but you leave me with the wrong perspective, then it's almost like you didn't come to me at all. So when we go to Jesus, we should have a different perspective. Every day you have to intentionally ask the Lord to reset your mind and reset your heart. And the way that occurs is by you allowing him to show you, Lord, help me to see this thing right. Help me to see this situation right. Help me to see this person the way that you see it, because then I can respond the way that you would have me to respond. And that's pretty much all I wanted to share with you all. Pray for new eyes. I believe praying for new eyes will help us to be forgiving, live in a place of forgiveness and compassion. And it also helps those broken parts of us that are still injured in our hearts. It'll help that to heal as well. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye-bye.